Imagine the weight of a profound family betrayal, a secret kept for years, simmering beneath the surface. Now picture having the perfect opportunity to expose that truth to everyone at the most public moment possible. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Hazel, and if you've got your coffee ready, we have a tale of family drama. Our narrator, Elara, always believed in her older brother Gideon. They were inseparable growing up. He was her protector, her confidant, and her very best friend through all their childhood adventures. Their parents, Silas and Wren, often commented on their seemingly unbreakable bond, a true comfort to them. But as they entered their late teens, something shifted. A subtle crack began to appear in their foundation. Gideon started making choices that confused Elara, small deviations from the kind character she knew. He became more self-centered, more focused on his own ambitions, sometimes at Elara's distinct expense. Elara initially dismissed it, attributing his changes to the pressures of growing up and figuring things out. She always gave him the benefit of the doubt, holding on to the good she knew was deep inside him somewhere. Their family wasn't wealthy, but they were comfortable, always prioritizing education for their children. Both Elara and Gideon had aspirations for higher education, a path their parents strongly encouraged and supported. Elara had always dreamed of attending a specific university, a prestigious art school known for its competitive programs. She worked tirelessly through high school, sacrificing social events for study sessions and art classes to excel. Gideon, meanwhile, was pursuing a business degree, aiming for a lucrative career in the world of finance. He was charming, persuasive, and very good at networking, often making connections with important people quickly. Elara noticed he was becoming increasingly focused on superficial appearances and material success above all else. He started borrowing money from their parents more frequently, citing investment opportunities or networking expenses. Silas and Wren, always supportive, stretched their budget to help him, believing in his bright potential. Elara secured a partial scholarship to her dream art school, but still needed a significant amount for tuition and living expenses. Their parents had set aside a college fund for both children, a substantial amount accumulated over many years. This fund was supposed to be split evenly, ensuring both could pursue their individual dreams without financial burden. Elara was so excited, imagining her future, sketching out dorm room designs and course schedules. Then, just weeks before her acceptance deposit was due, she happened to overhear a conversation. It was Gideon talking to their father, Silas, late one evening in the quiet study. Elara wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but their voices carried, filled with an urgent, almost desperate tone. She heard Gideon speaking about a once-in-a-lifetime business venture that needed immediate capital. He painted a vivid picture of immense returns, promising to repay the money with huge interest very soon. Silas sounded hesitant, mentioning Elara's upcoming tuition payment and the sacred college fund they had saved. Gideon was incredibly persuasive, laying out detailed plans and potential profits with conviction. He emphasized how this opportunity wouldn't wait, saying it was now or never for their family's future. Elara's stomach dropped when she heard the words, the entire college fund from her brother. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her brother was asking for all of it, leaving her with nothing. He assured Silas that he would pay Elara back with significant interest before her tuition was due. He said it was just a temporary loan, a few short weeks, and it would double their initial investment. Silas pressured and wanting to believe in his son's vision, eventually agreed with a heavy, troubled sigh. Elara felt the cold dread wash over her, a premonition of disaster settling in her heart. She knew, deep down, that this wasn't going to end well for her and her carefully planned future. The money was transferred, the college fund completely emptied for Gideon's ambitious venture. Weeks passed, and Elara's deposit deadline loomed closer and closer, a terrifying countdown. She tried to talk to Gideon, gently reminding him about her school and the critical money. He consistently brushed her off, saying, "Relax, Elara, it's handled. Just a few more days, trust me." His promises were empty, his reassurances increasingly hollow and evasive as time ran out. The deadline came, and went. Elara's dream school acceptance was irrevocably revoked. Elara felt a crushing wave of despair wash over her, a physical ache in her chest. Her dream, meticulously built and cherished, had been carelessly snatched away. She confronted Gideon, her voice trembling with a mix of disbelief and raw pain. "Gideon, my school, my future, what happened to the money?" she pleaded. He met her gaze with an unnerving coolness, devoid of any genuine remorse. "Oh, that? Something came up, Elara. Life happens," he said, shrugging dismissively. He acted as if her entire academic future was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Elara stared at him, suddenly seeing a stranger in her own brother's eyes. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a calculated act of profound selfishness and betrayal. She understood then that he had never intended to return her hard-earned savings. He had knowingly let her lose her place, her scholarship, her entire path forward. Her heart, once filled with sibling affection, hardened into a knot of deep resentment. For weeks, Elara moved through her days in a fog of grief and simmering rage. She watched Gideon planning his extravagant wedding with his fiancée Margot. Every detail of their joyous preparations felt like a cruel mockery of her own loss. It was during one particularly lavish wedding planning session that an idea sparked within her. A cold, sharp clarity cut through her pain, crystallizing into a firm resolve. She wouldn't just be a victim, she would be the architect of his public accountability. The wedding, the biggest day of his life, would become the stage for her justice. Elara began to meticulously craft her plan, every word, every moment carefully considered. She knew she had to expose his true character without resorting to anger or hysterics. Her goal was not to destroy him, but to unveil the man he truly was to everyone he loved. She practiced her delivery, ensuring her voice would remain steady, even when her heart ached. The invitation to Gideon and Margot's wedding arrived, a formal summons to her reckoning. Elara accepted, a quiet determination settling deep within her. The day dawned bright and clear, ironically perfect for a celebration of love and commitment. Elara dressed carefully, choosing an elegant outfit that belied her inner turmoil. She arrived at the venue, a beautiful estate overflowing with flowers and happy guests. Gideon looked radiant, his arm linked through Margot's, a picture of blissful ignorance. Family members greeted Elara warmly, unaware of the storm brewing beneath her calm exterior. As the reception began, the toasts commenced, each one praising Gideon's character. Elara watched, her mind sharp, waiting for the precise moment to make her move. Then, it was her turn. She was called upon as the sister of the groom. She walked to the microphone, her steps deliberate, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. A hush fell as she began to speak, her voice clear and surprisingly serene. "Gideon has always been a man of grand gestures," she started, a faint smile playing on her lips. "He has a way of making big promises, of painting a beautiful vision for the future." Margot beamed at her, the guests nodding along, expecting a loving, sisterly tribute. "But sometimes," Elara continued, her tone shifting ever so slightly, "those promises come at a cost that others end up paying, often without their knowledge or consent." The smiles on some faces began to falter, a ripple of unease moving through the room. She paused, letting her words hang in the air, a subtle shift in the celebratory mood. "I learnt this firsthand just a few months ago when I lost my dream," she stated plainly. "My dream to attend the university I worked so hard to get into, to pursue my passion, because the money I had saved, my entire deposit, was no longer available to me." She looked directly at her brother Lennox, who was now visibly uncomfortable beside his new wife. "It turned out that my brother Lennox had borrowed it," she continued, her voice steady, "without asking, without telling me, and certainly without any intention of paying it back." The gasps were audible now, especially from the bride's side of the room. The bride, Calliope, looked absolutely stunned, turning to Lennox with wide, questioning eyes. Lennox's face was a mask of crimson, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. "He needed it for an urgent expense," she explained, her tone laced with a touch of irony. "An urgent expense that, as it turns out, was this very wedding." A collective murmur swept through the guests, a mix of disbelief and dawning realization. My university future, the one I had worked for tirelessly, was sacrificed, she said sadly. "It was sacrificed so that Lennox could have his lavish dream wedding with Calliope." Calliope now looked utterly devastated, her wedding smile completely gone. Her parents, seated nearby, exchanged furious glances with Lennox's parents. "I believe in honesty and in facing the consequences of our choices," she stated firmly, "especially when those choices deeply impact the lives and futures of others." She raised her glass again, her gaze still fixed on her brother. "So, to Lennox and Calliope," she began, a new edge in her voice, "may your marriage be built on a stronger foundation than the one you started with, a foundation of genuine truth, financial transparency, and mutual respect." She took a slow sip of her champagne, the silence in the room deafening. The entire atmosphere had shifted from joy to profound awkwardness and tension. Lennox finally found his voice, sputtering incoherently and standing up abruptly. "Why would you do this, Wren?" he hissed, his face a furious shade of purple. "On my wedding day? You are absolutely sabotaging everything." Wren simply smiled serenely, not a hint of malice in her expression. "I'm merely sharing a story about dreams and how they can sometimes be taken," she replied softly. "A story that happens to involve the groom and his significant financial decisions." Calliope's mother, Priya, stood up, her face a storm of indignation. "Lennox, is this true?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the quiet. "Did you truly take your sister's university savings for this event?" Lennox stammered, trying to deny it, but his guilt was written all over his face. Wren simply nodded, a silent confirmation that spoke volumes. The bride, Calliope, began to weep softly, her dream wedding dissolving before her eyes. The guests began to whisper, some looking at Lennox with utter contempt. Others looked at Wren with a mix of shock and reluctant admiration. This was not the heartwarming toast anyone had anticipated, to say the least. The DJ, bless his heart, tried to discreetly fade in some background music, but the tension in the air was far too thick to be diffused by a gentle melody. Wren had delivered her truth, and the aftermath was now unfolding dramatically. Wow, what a moment to choose, right? But sometimes that's the only option. When someone has completely disregarded your future for their own gain, especially when it's family, the betrayal cuts so much deeper. Wren knew this was her one chance to make Lennox truly accountable, to expose his actions to the people who mattered most to him. And it certainly looked like she achieved exactly that. The wedding was obviously completely derailed, leaving chaos and confusion in its wake. Lennox stood there, utterly exposed, his meticulously planned future crumbling around him. His new bride, Calliope, was aghast, realizing the true character of the man she was about to marry. The guests whispered, their shock quickly turning into judgment and discomfort. Wren didn't gloat, she simply stated her truth and let the chips fall where they may. Her quiet dignity in that moment spoke volumes, far more than any angry outburst could have. Sometimes, true justice isn't about vengeance, but about revealing the hidden truth to everyone. It's about ensuring accountability, especially when someone has deliberately harmed a loved one. Lennox had to face the consequences of his actions, not just from Wren, but from his entire family. The trust was shattered, and rebuilding it would be an incredibly long and difficult road, if possible at all. The story reminds us that some betrayals are so profound, they demand public acknowledgement. It's a stark lesson about the importance of integrity and protecting those closest to you. What do you think, friends? Was Wren justified in her wedding day reckoning? Did Lennox deserve that public exposure, or should she have handled it more privately? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I always love hearing your perspectives. If you enjoyed this tale of family drama and cold justice, please give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Hazel Tells Stories for more narratives with a side of coffee. And make sure to confront that notification bell so you never miss another episode. Until next time, stay cozy, stay wise, and I'll see you very soon.